The bank didn't call my parents, they called me. I laughed at first. They said I had missed 3 mortgage payments on a $2.4 million mansion. I told them they had the wrong person. Then the manager quietly asked, "Miss Carter, is this your signature?" My stomach dropped. It looked exactly like mine. But I had never signed anything. My parents thought they had found the perfect person to sacrifice. They never imagined I'd uncover the one document that would destroy everything they built. My name is Emma Carter, and until that Monday morning, I believed I had done everything right. At 27, I had a stable job as a financial analyst, a clean credit score, and enough savings to buy my first apartment. My biggest worry was choosing between 2 neighborhoods. Then my phone rang. "Good morning, Miss Carter. This is the Mortgage Recovery Department." I smiled politely. "I think you've called the wrong person." The woman on the other end paused. "No, ma'am. We're calling about your $2.4 million mortgage. 3 monthly payments have been missed." I laughed. There must be some mistake. I don't own a mansion. Her voice became serious. "Would you please confirm your social security number?" I did. After a few seconds of silence, she quietly said, "It matches our records." My heart started racing. She emailed me the mortgage file while we were still on the call. I opened the first page. And there it was. My full name. My home address. And a signature that looked exactly like mine. At that moment, I knew one thing. Someone had just turned my entire life into a nightmare. I drove straight to the bank, convinced someone had stolen my identity. The loan officer greeted me with a polite smile before placing a thick mortgage file on the desk. "Miss Carter, this loan was approved 11 months ago." I slowly flipped through the documents. There were copies of my driver's license, my employment records. Even my signature appeared on every page. It all looked real. Then the banker opened a satellite photo. A breathtaking waterfront mansion with a private dock and luxury cars parked outside. "Congratulations," he said awkwardly. "According to our records, this is your property." "I've never been there," I whispered. He frowned. "You've also missed 3 payments. If the balance isn't brought current soon, foreclosure proceedings will begin." I felt sick. Before leaving, I asked for the property's address. The moment I pulled into the long driveway later that afternoon, I froze. My parents walked out the front door, laughing with glasses of champagne in their hands. They weren't visiting the mansion. They were living in it. I sat in my car, unable to breathe. My parents noticed me standing outside the mansion and smiled as if nothing was wrong. "Emma," my mother called happily. "Come inside." We were just about to have dinner. I didn't move. Instead, I held up the mortgage papers. "What is this?" The smiles disappeared. My father sighed, almost annoyed that I had found out. "It's not as bad as it looks." I stared at him in disbelief. "You put a $2.4 million mortgage in my name." He folded his arms. "Your credit score was perfect. The bank approved it much faster with your profile." My heart pounded. "You forged my signature." Mother stepped closer. "Sweetheart, we're family. We were going to tell you eventually." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So your plan was to let me discover it after the bank came after me?" Dad shrugged. "Relax. We'll make the payments." Just then, a black SUV slowly pulled into the driveway. A man in a dark suit stepped out, holding an official folder. He looked directly at me. "Miss Emma Carter?" I nodded. He handed me a sealed envelope. "I'm David Collins, Senior Bank Fraud Investigator. We need to talk, because this case is much bigger than a missed mortgage." David Collins led me to a quiet conference room at the bank the next morning. He placed a thick file on the table. "Emma," he said, "we've been investigating this mortgage for weeks." I looked at him, confused. "Why didn't anyone contact me sooner?" "We tried," he replied. "But every letter and verification call was redirected before they reached you." My stomach tightened. He slid several documents across the table. "Someone changed the contact information on your financial profile." I recognized the email address immediately. It belonged to my father. Then came copies of security camera footage from the closing day. A woman wearing sunglasses had signed the final paperwork using my identity. David zoomed in on one frame. The woman removed her sunglasses for just a second. I froze. It was my mother. My hands started shaking. "They planned this from the beginning." David nodded. "And that's not all." He opened one final folder. The mansion wasn't the only loan. There are 3 more accounts opened under your name. The total debt wasn't $2.4 million anymore. It had quietly grown to over $3 million. 2 months later, the case reached court. My parents looked confident as they walked into the courtroom. My father whispered, "There's no way they'll prove we did this." My mother smiled at me. "You'll regret turning your own family against you." I didn't answer. David Collins simply placed a small flash drive on the judge's desk. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit newly recovered security footage." The courtroom lights dimmed. The video showed my parents meeting with a mortgage broker weeks before the loan was approved. Then another clip appeared. My father handed the broker an envelope filled with cash. The audio was crystal clear. "Use Emma's information. She'll never find out until we're settled into the house." The entire courtroom fell silent. My mother's face turned pale. The judge removed his glasses and looked directly at my parents. So this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a carefully planned fraud. My father lowered his head. For the first time since this nightmare began, they realized they weren't just losing the mansion. They were about to lose their freedom. 3 weeks after the trial, I received one final call from David Collins. "Emma," he said, "the court has issued its final ruling." I arrived at the courthouse expecting more paperwork. Instead, David handed me a sealed folder. "The mortgage has been declared fraudulent." I let out a long breath. "So, I'm finally free?" He smiled. "More than free. Every debt attached to your name has been erased." My eyes filled with tears. Then he slid one last document across the table. "The bank has also filed a civil claim against your parents. The mansion has officially been repossessed." A week later, I stood outside that same luxury house. The moving trucks were loading my parents' furniture while they argued with the sheriff. My father looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Emma, please help us." I calmly shook my head. "You asked me to carry your debt. Now you can carry the consequences." As I turned to leave, David smiled. "The bank has approved compensation for identity theft." I looked at the amount. It was enough to buy my own dream home, completely debt-free. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. I had bought a beautiful home with the compensation the court awarded me after proving I was the victim of identity theft. For the first time in years, every bill in my mailbox belonged to me, and only me. One afternoon, I received a handwritten letter. It was from my father. "Emma, we lost everything. The house, the business, our reputation. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm sorry." I folded the letter without anger. Some apologies arrived too late to change the past. I didn't hate my parents anymore. But I also knew that trust, once broken, isn't rebuilt with words. As I stood on the porch of my new home, I looked at the keys in my hand and smiled. My parents had tried to bury me under millions of dollars in debt. Instead, they gave me the courage to fight for my own future. Because in the end, The greatest revenge wasn't watching them lose their mansion. It was proving that no amount of betrayal could stop me from building a better life.